Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AirWAVs. This is Zach Hubeck with Wave LLC, and today is going to be absolutely awesome. I'm here with Cambium Networks, Facebook, one of my good brothers from Wave LLC, and we're talking about Terragraph. We're talking about Cambium Network cnWAVE, and we're talking about this really awesome tool called the Advanced Network Planning Tool that just fits into this beautifully, fits into this Terragraph equation. So, gentlemen, very, very good to see you today. Thank you for joining the panel. Why don't we run through some introductions? We're going to go alphabetically by middle name, third letter in your middle name, and that means I'm starting with Mr. Bruce Collins. Bruce, who are you, and who do you work for, and how do you fit in this Terragraph equation, sir?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Zach, for having us on the discussion today. Looking forward to it. So I'm Bruce Collins. I'm a director of product management over at Cambium Networks. So one of the products I'm responsible for is 60 gigahertz millimeter wave solution, which we call cnWAVE. And it is a Terragraph certified product. So we work very closely with Facebook and the rest of the Terragraph ecosystem to bring these solutions to market.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Bruce. Mr. Fletcher, you're up.
So thanks, Zach. My name is Michael Fletcher. Most people call me Fletch, but Michael and Fletch are both acceptable nomenclature. I work for Facebook in a business development role, but I have two roles. My primary role is supporting the OEM partnerships team, which, where we help OEMs with various Facebook connectivity initiatives. And my secondary role is helping the ecosystem with Terragraph opportunities in North America. And just the OEM partnerships team is a small team of industry veterans that have been in the wireless space for some time. You know, in my case, before joining Facebook, I was at Ruckus Wireless for 10 years. And before that, I spent time at Motorola, the business unit that is now Cambium.
All right. Very cool. Well, Fletch, thanks for joining today. Let's jump over to Scott Hollingsworth, and then Mark, you're on deck, sir.
Yeah, hi, I'm Scott Hollingsworth. I work for Cambium Networks. I am part of the Global Services Group, and we provide planning, design, and management across all of the Cambium products.
All right. Love it. Mark Billets, last but not least, brother. Go for it.
That's me. I'm Mark Billets. I'm senior sales engineer at Wave. So that's I do consulting and engineering on all of the fixed wireless broadband products for Wave and Wave's customers.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark, very much, gentlemen. Again, really looking forward to this session. So why don't we just jump into our questions here? First one's for Fletch. So Michael, tell us all about the Facebook Terragraph program. What's the mission and how does it work today?
Well, I suppose everyone knows what Facebook does. I mean, you know, we provide social networking apps and along with a couple of other products and services, you know, for example, Workplace, which is a communications tool for business. And then, you know, we have Facebook Reality Labs, which produces Oculus and the Facebook portal. So FBC or Facebook connectivity was, you know, started some time back as the majority of our users, you know, access social networking services primarily on mobile devices. And so our services are heavily dependent on, you know, network availability. So poor network quality equates to a less than desirable user experience, which is, you know, why this was created to try and improve connectivity for people. So I suppose, you know, in less developed countries, the lack of connectivity is more prevalent than it is in the developed world. But even in the US, you know, there's tens of millions of people that don't have access to broadband. And this has been highlighted a lot during, you know, the pandemic. So I guess in short, what this means is Facebook business depends on good, you know, and decent connectivity. And so FBC is a number of initiatives, you know, that involve either fiber or wireless technology. And we do this all to sort of support the connectivity ecosystem. And one thing, you know, just to stress here, Facebook has no intention of becoming a service provider or becoming an OEM that sells, infrastructure products. But we, with the whole creation of Terragraph, it was to enable OEMs and the broader ecosystem to provide quality, sustainable broadband, at a lower cost. So that's really how it came about. And initially, when we started this, with the prototypes with Puma, we invested in a few projects to try and create some use cases and archetypes. But we're now very much in a support role. There's a pretty healthy ecosystem out there, and it's growing quite rapidly.
Nice. Very cool, Fletch. Awesome. So any great marriage, you're matching up to a great OEM. I'm very, very much opinionated here, but WAVE has been a Motorola canopy distributor since 2001. And now here we are with Cambium Networks. And I'm going to bounce this question over to Mark Billitz. And we're going to talk about technology theory, Terragraph, and cnWAVE. For the folks listening, Cambium, with their point-to-point solutions, multi-point solutions, have been known for very rural areas. This product, and I'm not going to steal too much of Mark's thunder, but we now can take an urban area that may not have those connectivity available that Fletch was talking about, and now we have a Terragraph solution that's 60 gigahertz. So, Mark, why don't you talk to the audience a little bit about what is Terragraph and cnWAVE, what's the purpose, and what is it not?
Okay, so cnWAVE is Cambium's 60 gig point-to-multipoint system. And inside of that, it uses the Terragraph architecture. So what that does is it allows it to mesh. In other words, a base station can talk to another base station to another one. So you have one fiber input, and you could have multiple base stations that are connected to that fiber input. And then off those base stations, you have client devices. Okay, so that's the meshing part. The really exciting part is 60 gig delivers some super high data rates. Okay, so this is fiber-like performance, so like a gig of data. It's really exciting. So in places where you're looking to do a fiber type deployment, but let's say it's not feasible to dig up for fiber, or the time frame's not quite there, this is a great replacement for that. But this is where the cnWAVE and the Terragraph come in. So we can light up an entire neighborhood, or a whole city, with 1 gig speeds, fiber-like speeds with this. It's very exciting technology. So what is it not? So it's not long haul, backhaul. Okay. So it's fairly short range, and that has to do primarily with the frequency, which is 60 gig. So 60 gig is not a long distance frequency. It's a short distance frequency. So that's kind of the drawback, but the plus side of all of that is those super high data rates that you get. Okay. So
short distance, big pipe.
You got it.
I love it. Beautiful. And really, if you look across the Cambium portfolio, and Bruce, you're on deck for a question here, buddy, coming at you. But if you look across the entire portfolio with Cambium, I talked about point-to-point, point-to-multipoint. We now have awesome fiber-like speeds with 60 gig Terragraph cnWAVE solutions, but also the audience shouldn't forget there's switching from Cambium Networks, Wi-Fi 6 access points, and just it's a full end-to-end solution. That's a very, very used and abused term in the industry. But when I think of Cambium Networks, that's what I think of, and it's really awesome. So, Bruce, I said question coming your way. Mark talks a little bit about what cnWAVE and Terragraph is and what it is not. What are some of the gotchas you've seen right out of the gate, or assumptions you've seen some folks make from initial installs?
Yeah, it's a great question, because as Mark was saying, a lot of our customers are coming from a 5 gigahertz or maybe a CBRS band 3 gigahertz solution, and they get interested in how we're going to deliver this gigabits per second speed. So there's a couple of clear things that you have to take into account. You have to take into account this is absolutely a line of sight situation. So it's short ranges, absolute line of sight, but multiple gigabits per second. So one of the one of the misconceptions that we see quite often is that the expectation is I'm just going to go find the tallest tower in the center of town. I'm going to put one of these distribution nodes or access points up on the top of the tower, and I'm going to put I'm going to sprinkle my end users around the town. And really the Terragraph topology and technology and then the way cnWAVE is implemented as well is it really cries out for a distributed architecture where you have a mesh of distribution nodes spread across the coverage area that have line of sight to each other. And what that does is it gives you more opportunities to find client nodes or end users, whether it's a residence or a business or a video camera. You get more opportunities to find line of sight to the end node, and it keeps those links shorter. So we really see people looking at, we really look at the trade-off between a traditional micropop architecture where I have a access point in a hub and spoke versus a distributed mesh. So I think that's one of the key things to think about with 60 gigahertz and cnWAVE.
Very cool. Great answer, Bruce. Scott, I'm going to jump over to you, sir. So, of course, you're Terragraph approved. Tell us about some of the features and functionalities Cambium is most proud of in that cnWAVE solution.
Well, I think the best part is obviously providing connectivity to rural areas and doing it at a good price point, right? The best ANP it's a great way to do a predictive design essentially for a Terragraph network, right? So ANP takes sites and LiDAR data that analyzes the line of sight to and from each area, and it comes up with this design that's resilient, redundant, and high performing.
Awesome. Very cool. So Scott, I think you're going to test drive us. Bruce, hang on one second.
Okay,
Scott, I think you're going to test drive us through the ANP tool soon. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Beautiful. So Bruce, go ahead, man. Sorry I cut you off.
No worries. Yeah, you wanted to interactive. Here it is. So no, I was just going to add to what Scott was saying was once Scott's come up with this design using the different tools, what we really are seeing a lot of interest in cnWAVE is that we have sort of this different options for the hardware. So we have a really small, what we call the V1000, kind of, it's almost the size of your hand. It's really a small radio that you can put on very, you don't need a big pole or a mount to put this on. You can put it on the side of a house on a light pole. And then that's for short range. And then for sort of longer range, we have a dish solution, which we call the V3000. And then all of these are sort of fed back into our distribution node, which is a dual sector. So I think what you'll see when you take a look at the hardware with cnWAVE is it's a lot of the things that you know and love about the Cambium sort of portfolio. We've baked in a lot of that on top of the underlying Terragraph technology. So I think that's probably what we're most proud of is the total cost of ownership that we can bring with our the history and experience we have in building these types of radio solutions. We're leveraging all that and taking advantage of this exciting new technology.
Love it. And you know, folks listening, do not gloss over the fact that aesthetics is a huge factor when you start getting into urban environments. First, you have to get permitting for poles and being able to put communications on, you know, in these different publicly accessed areas. But people very much care, city planners, mayors, whomever, they do absolutely care about aesthetics. And in Cambium, you've done it well. So I tip of the cap to you, gentlemen. Fletch, why don't I bounce back to you, sir? What are some of the results that you're seeing from initial deployments or initial projects with Terragraph? If you could share that with the folks listening, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Zach, so there's definitely a lot of hype around Terragraph at the moment. And, you know, the feedback that I got from Whisperpalooza from the event in May is there certainly was a lot of chatter. And, you know, so everyone that I'm speaking to is aware of, you know, of Terragraph. So it's pretty obvious that that Cambium and the distributors are doing something right. And, you know, as I say, like we're engaging on a lot of projects together and there's a fair amount of pilots on the go and some in the planning phases. You know, some of the pilots are decent in size. around 100 links, which is not bad, for people just trialing the technology. So I'm very bullish about the second half, and I think it's going to be a breakout half, for Terragraph. But one of the other things is also, quite encouraging that I'm seeing is interest in multiple verticals. So, where it's not just service provider looking for additional transport. I'm seeing, interest from enterprise organizations. There's inquiries for video surveillance, education, and the other one that's also quite interesting is with tribal broadband, connectivity. And I know sometimes it's a little challenging because these projects are quite rural, but using Terragraph, within the communities is certainly a viable option. And also, Scott, I'm really excited about where this is going because Cambium is also a great partner of ours for Express Wi-Fi. So, it gives us opportunity to merge in multiple technologies into the same projects where we're covering, transport and access.
Love it. When you look at the speeds and the capabilities of the cnWAVE solution with Terragraph, and you compare that just right against the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, the government is absolutely incentivizing and providing subsidy for gigabit plus speeds. And so the timing is right for this solution, even in those rural areas. Fletch, you hit the nail on the head there. Gigabit, is absolutely very, very prevalent in all of our networks. So this is great. Good. So Scott, can we test drive this advanced network planning tool, sir?
We can. Yeah,
I love it.
Share my screen here. Let me know when you can see.
Affirmative.
All right, so like we said, we usually start out in Link Planner. This is Link Planner. So this is a neighborhood design that we're doing. First, you're going to go in and you're going to place all your CNs or customer nodes, your DNs or distribution nodes, and obviously your POPs. Once you've done all this, which we've done here, you just click this Google Earth button here. It's going to open you up to this Google Earth image of basically the same thing. It's going to give you a couple little drop downs here, but what you need to do is create new folders. Adding folders here, I won't do it. I already have one keyed up here, but what you'll do is create these 3 folders, CN, DN, and POP. Once those are created, you're going to drop these network sites, subscriber sites, and your POPs in the correct folders, and then go back and delete all the other folders except for these. Once you've done that, you'll just simply right click and save the place as your site list. The other thing we're going to have to do is get a boundary in, so we can just click here, just kind of crudely draw in a boundary, and then we're going to save that. I've already got one saved here, so this is my boundary. Once we have all that in here, we're going to pop over to the AMP tool. I'm already in a folder just to avoid showing other customers in here, but essentially you'd create a folder. Once you have that folder, you can create a plan within that folder. We'll just call this test. And when you're starting out, you just want to do an end-to-end planner using GeoTIFF files. If you're doing the same project again with a different budget, you can always use an older plan, but we'll start out like we're brand new. So first things first, we're going to add in that boundary file that we created. Then we need to add some LiDAR data, and this is what lets ANP work with the surroundings to know if there is line of sight to each location. Gives you 3 options to upload. We found the most effective is just using a DSM file. So we'll do that. Next is the site list that we talked about when you save all of your sites here. So we save that. Next, during line of sight, we don't change much of this because if you have the information from Link Planner correct with the heights and everything off the roofs, it's going to use that versus using the defaults here. So we'll just kind of skim over that. And next we get to a radio section. So we're going to put 1 DN per site. That's not per number of radios, that's number of DNs. We'll do 2 connections that DN can see other DNs, and we'll add the 15 connections it can make to the CNs. Under the dimensioning area, we're going to decide how much throughput we want to give them. We'll say 100 megs to each. Can the POP actually service clients or just the DNs? We're going to say the client can service or the POP can service the clients, and then you get your oversubscription factor. So this tool can go up to 3 times, so we'll use 3 times. One thing I always forget is showing the advanced options under the radios. This is where you can get really granular and type in all of the information as far as what channel you're using, information about the antennas. So we'll add that quickly. And just for the purpose of this demo, I'm just using a V5K antenna on both the DN and the CN, but you can choose either or. 2 sectors per node. We have two sectors. And then we'll do the same thing for the CN.
I love the realism of the urban area. We had the ambulance in the background. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well played. Well played, Scott. So Mark, as you're watching this, and I know we've touched the ANP tool a little bit. I know you're very, very familiar with link planner. Is there any advice you have to the folks at home as far as setting them up for success in link planner to then transition to ANP tool? We'll talk a little bit about getting access to this tool while Scott is doing his thing. But do you have any advice for the folks at home about what are the essential things you need to have before you start going down this path?
Well, so for most people, link planner is the way to go if it's a smaller network. If you're going to do a mesh network, you could certainly build it, and you should build it in link planner, just like Scott has done, and then send all that data to WAVE, and we'll run it for you on the ANP tool if it's that big of a network.
Very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit, guys, Scott, or even Bruce, if you wanted to address this one. The advanced network planning tool, how do people become authorized to use it? And are you just throwing this out there for any end user to use, or are we being a little bit more calculated about it?
Yeah, I can probably take a cut at that. Really, as Mark was saying, if you're looking to build out a cnWAVE network, you really ought to start with Link Planner. Get all your nodes and endpoints and into Link Planner, and up to I've seen designs up to I think I've even seen up to 100 or more nodes just completely designed in Link Planner. But then if you want to take advantage, let's say you're going to do a citywide deployment or a much larger scale deployment, then you really would want to engage the services of somebody like WAVE and take their expertise at the ANP tool, which can help sort to give some of those trade-offs that Scott will be kind of demonstrating here. So ANP is not necessarily today and what I'd call an end user tool, but it's something that the engineers can use in the background to help validate your design and offer some suggestions on developing that bill of materials. So that's kind of how I would describe the scenarios today.
Right.
Awesome. Love it. Well, good.
Right, so
well, when they talk about the experts, they're certainly talking about Mark Billets. They don't let me touch the tools since 2003. So we won't go into that in this forum, gentlemen. But Scott, tell us where you left off here and what are we looking at next?
Okay, so I finished the project, inputting all the parameters, and I ran it. Obviously, to save time for this recording, I pre-ran this design before this call, but this is the output of what's happening. So this is just a general overview within the tool, but the meat and potatoes come in the output files. So you want to, the ones I primarily focus on are the line of sight, the actual reporting graphing, and then a text file to show kind of your budgets. Yeah, I haven't done it yet. 1 sec. Here we go. All right, so once it's done, it pops back into Google Earth, and you can kind of see the actual design that it's proposing. You get a bunch of lines. The pink ones are actually candidates saying, I can see all of these. The blue ones are the ones that it actually picked. So we'll remove the candidates. And then to go a step further, we'll change the color of DN to CNs so we can actually see what it's doing. And then you can kind of get a real look at where your network can provide, cannot provide. And based on this output, you can then go back in and either move DNs, like you can see here, this one and this one weren't connected. So you can go in and try to figure out why, maybe move them a little closer or better line of sight, and come up with a good designed to get rolling.
Wow, this is really cool. And so the output of this, so you've got the Wave engineering team helping you out doing this design. Will an output, will this actually, you heard Bruce talking about the V3000s, the V1000s, will that actually spit out a bill of materials that when people have a real live opportunity, they can come to Wave and say, here's my bill of materials for this network design we just did?
I'm not sure if it gives a full bill of materials, but once you actually do the plan and know that your link planner plan is correct and you have all the connections you want, link planner can then spit out a bill of materials for you.
Very cool. Love it. Thank you very much for the test drive. That was great.
Surely.
Love it. So, guys, let me think. So we talked about approval process to become a Terragraph authorized partner. Clearly, people are going to want to become a Cambium authorized partner first. There's a lot of folks. Bruce, if you could walk us through how people, get access to become a Cambium Networks partner, I think that would be very helpful for the audience at home.
Sure. The best way to do it is, besides reaching out to your friend Zach at Wave, is one option, but you can also go to channel.cambiumnetworks.com, and there's a application on that, and you can get some more information there. There's also lots of information. We have sort of I'll call it an award-winning partner portal that we're quite proud of and have spent many years developing, and really is one of the best in class. So you'll learn a lot of information about becoming a partner there, and I strongly encourage that as a great place to start.
Bruce, I as a user of your portal, I couldn't agree more. And plenty of tip of the cap to Cambium on doing in innovation. But Karen Pastorino and team have done a stellar job with your guys' portal. Not only are you going to find assets and information about cnWAVE solutions and Terragraph, but also marketing assets and collateral. How do I support this integrator when they are approaching end users in a cnWAVE or a Terragraph environment? What are the tools I have at my fingertips to help me in the selling process, not only with these cool engineering tools, but a smattering of many, many other things. So I think this is great. Awesome. So Fletch, is there a formal process for people? Let's say they believe they've got a great potential or a project for Terragraph through Cambium Networks. Is there any barriers to entry or approval they need to get from Facebook, or would they work directly with Wave and Cambium on that?
Yeah, Zach, I mean, it's best to work through the ecosystem partners, and as I said, our goal is not to be, a hardware provider or, a system integrator. Of course, we'll help, and, we have guys, so if there's help required with planning or we need to do some modeling, we're always willing to help out on those large ones. But for me, ultimately, what we want to do is to see the ecosystem grow. And so we're very much in a supportive role. And, as you know, if we have, the resources, we will always help out wherever possible. And, sometimes people get asked questions that are a little tricky to answer. Why is Facebook doing this? And, loop us in, because, it's very easy for me to answer those questions. And so, use us where it's helpful, and we'll help out where we can.
Love it, Fletch. I've personally been on calls with you with partners that may have a pilot project that they want to do and things like that, and I echo that sentiment. Very much well supported from the Wave, the Facebook, and the Cambium side. So, guys, this has been an awesome session. Scott, thanks for the test drive, man. Really, really powerful tool, folks.
Agreed.
Come to Wave with your questions about Terragraph and Cambium and cnWAVE. If you do have a project you're interested in, we'll start you out on Link Planner if you're very familiar with that, and then we'll get our hooks into the advanced network planning tool with our engineers. We're happy to support you guys. But I think this has been a great session on what is cnWAVE, what is Terragraph, and let's drive this advanced network planning tool. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. I have a big smile on my face because Fletch talked about WISP America was great. We're meeting in person again. It's May 19th, 2021, and we're going to start to be able to visit customers and go to WISP Americas and go to WISPapaloozas. And I just can't wait to get back to in person instead of this TV screen mode we're in. So guys,
Right.
really appreciate you having you on today. Thank you, Cambium. Thank you, Facebook. And Mark Billets, thank you, of course, for always your support from WAVE. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.